It is 6:15, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Melody Locke. I'm the current president of WiVLA, the Women in the Visual and Literary Arts. And before we get started with our general business, before the fun part of the meeting, we always like to start with our mission statement. And I am hoping that Ellen is prepared to read it.
Yes, except say that as if the mission statement is the unfun part of the evening. So
No, that's no.
To spice it up.
I mean, I'm surprised you're not wearing a tiara to read it, but anyway, go ahead.
You should have told me. I could have. WiVLA's mission is to provide an inspired forum for women to explore and advance their creative development, to promote their work in the marketplace, and to infuse the community with their spirit of cooperation and invention.
Thank you. Before we get started with the business part of the meeting, I have a sad announcement. Some of you are probably already aware that Lillian Tharp's daughter passed away this past weekend. It was sudden, very unexpected. I'm going to be posting some information about Brenda and the funeral services coming up this next weekend. But I don't know if everybody knew about this. I don't believe we have any updates from the visual and literary arts chairs, but I do have an announcement about November. As y'all know, November is election month. And it's not just the midterms, it's the WiVLA elections as well. And what my role is this year as the outgoing president is to work with the incoming president to line up a slate of candidates. But what I first like to do is find out who would be interested in serving on the board. And I have to say, I've been on the board for a few years now. It is so rewarding. You get to work closely with so many very talented women. Plus it gives you more opportunities to meet members of the organization. It's a safe place to learn how to serve on a board. Everyone's very supportive. So if you have any interest at all, you can send email to info@wivla.org, or you can go onto the member directory page and just find my name and send me a message. There's a link where you can send me a message and get in touch with me directly.
And don't forget, you get to read the mission statement.
Every once in a while. I didn't want to let them know what the best part of the job was right off the bat, but yes. Well, that's me. I've been rotating that amongst the board members. Who knows what Gretchen will do as president? Okay.
No, it's I like it.
Okay. So we've got some special projects going on. As you know, we had the Smither Park design entries, and the board has selected a design. It's kind of a preliminary design. We need to get back with the artist and have a couple of tweaks made, but it's like 85% what we're looking for. So once we finalize the final tweaks with the artist, we will be sharing that with y'all. And when the temperature gets below 150, we'll all get out there and work on decorating the wall. If you're not familiar with the wall, the Smither Park has this beautiful wall, a mosaic wall, and we have been given a piece of the wall. And we spent a lot of time, especially Gretchen's husband, deconstructing the piece that was there before us. It was abandoned by the artist who had it. And now we've pretty much got a nice clean slate with which to work. So very excited about having our visual mark in Smither Park. Okay, partner registration for the collaboration is closed. I'm sure y'all have your prospectus up on your computer screens, but just in case you don't, all images and literary pieces must be uploaded by September 23rd. I know that the show doesn't start till December 1st, but we have a book to put together and print, and all that takes time. So there is a form for it. The link will be in the newsletter and on the web page shortly. It'll be on the website, the collaboration webpage on the website after I send it to our web mistress, Natalie. So that may be a day or two. And let's see. Also, regarding the reception for the collaboration, we are encouraging our members to carpool. It's in Baytown, which might not be everyone's stomping ground except Gladys May's. So we're looking into carpooling and possible bus to take members so that we can all meet up at one place, get on a bus, have someone drive us and bring us back afterwards. So stay tuned for more on that. And I think that's all I've got. For the benefit of Sabina, I'm just going to say, if you've got any member news of events coming up, please send it to newsletter@wivla.org. The deadline for the September newsletter is in 4 days. Mercy, 4 days, the 20th of the month. Many of us have deadlines for that. Okay, so any news that you've got, events happening in September, get that information to Sabina at your earliest convenience. And that again is newsletter@wivla.org. And at this time, I'm going to turn over to Margot so she can talk to us about upcoming meetings and the many workshops that are in the works.
Okay, so first I'm supposed to do a teaser for next month. So, no. Okay, we'll start with that. Our speaker will be Lori Ewell, who is a choreographer and she's a fieldwork facilitator. Although we haven't had fieldworks in Houston for a while. And she will present the principles of fieldwork feedback. And no matter what medium you work in, you will want to attend the September meeting. So in addition to her presentation, we will practice giving feedback after watching a contemporary dance. And we are going to examine some visual art by a secret, mysterious WiVLA artist. So in this presentation, you will learn how to give meaningful feedback without using the words like or love. So, and it's non-directorial, so you don't give suggestions. You just look at art or you look at written word or dancing or video, and you say how it made you feel, your impressions. It's magical feedback. And if we like it, we might be able to get a workshop together for next year. Okay, other workshops, I put these in the chat box. On September 17th from 10 to 1, we have the magic of contour drawing with Cheryl Rossetti at Weekly Community Center. We have 12 tickets available. And for any of these workshops, you go to our calendar and you register there. Also in September, we have a studio visit with Gail Siptic. Sorry, this event is full. That's really tacky for me to put that in there, but you know, had to do like da-da-da, da-da-da. All right, and then October the 19th from 11:15 to about noon, we will get a tour of the Menil archives. And then maybe lunch at the Bistro Menil. And I just posted that, I just put that on the calendar, and then we have 15 spots left. So that's the max, 15. November 4th and November 6th, we have the Quilt Festival. We have lots of spots available. So we're not selling tickets, we're just providing, you know, like a meetup and transportation. So the thing that Melody was talking about, Harris County Precinct 1 will provide bus service to activities for people who are 50 years old and older. So we need at least 2 people to volunteer to be group coordinators. And each coordinator has to attend an orientation training once per year. And the group coordinator is in charge of filling out the request forms and also mainly keeping up with the roster of who's riding the bus, who got on the bus, did not get on the bus, you know, those kinds of things. And I feel like anyone who would take on this responsibility would have a moving experience. So, sorry about that. So can I go ahead and introduce our speakers, or do we want to have discussion about, you want to discuss anything, Melody?
No, that was excellent. I mean, it almost sounds like, you know, like the old room mothers for class trips for this.
So let me introduce our speakers. I met Kellyanne, Ellis, and Tina Cardona, gosh, years ago. And I started going to their solstice celebrations. And I thought it was so wonderful. It was just sort of this, or it kind of seems like it's evolved into this organic gathering of people who love to write and eat and celebrate. And they're both just very giving, lovely people. I love them both deeply. Kellyanne is an award-winning writer who lives and works and writes in Houston. She obtained an MA in English literature from the University of Houston. She also performs and creates video poems, and they have screened at several of the Real Poetry festivals. Her publications and awards are very numerous. So if you're curious about Kelly, I suggest you go to our calendar and check out all of her accolades. And Tina Cardona believes in the generative power of poetry to heal. As a clinical social worker, a registered yoga teacher, and an occasional but passionate poet, she spends her day obsessing on how to combine creativity, health, movement, and expansive states of mind in order to help people achieve satisfaction and joy in living. Besides publishing her work and performing locally, both Kellyanne and Tina have also co-hosted multiple events, including Hot Poets, now infamous solstice gatherings, which have also been called, is it Dionysian? Anyway, so take it away. I'm really so happy you're here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And thank you for that wonderful intro, Margot. We're so happy to see you. Kelly is going to put up our PowerPoint. We were a little intimidated when we found out, when we read again, and we thought, oh, PowerPoint. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Because Hot Poet was literally from party to nonprofit. So right after my divorce, it's been nearly 10 years ago, I was not writing at all, you know. So we were at Leon's. We had gone to a public poetry event, and I knew Kelly, but we hadn't really talked in a very long time, because years earlier, I was a co-founder of Houston International Poetry. And so we met up again, and we started talking, and we went to Leon's Lounge after public poetry. And we had a couple of drinks, and Kelly said, you know, we're still hot poets, aren't we? And I said, yeah, we are, for sure we are. And she said, I want to have a party. What do you think about that? Isn't that a crazy idea? And just invite all of the poets and have a reading. I said, it's a great idea. And she said, but where would we hold it? And I said, my place. So that's how we started. We started from being at a bar and having a good idea. And it went from good idea to good idea, and really just us having fun. Because if it's not fun, I just felt like, what is the point? And at that time, I needed all the fun I could get. It was also a lot of work. Now, when we started, as you can see, they're in my house sitting on the floor, because after the divorce, I had nothing. So we had a party and people had a great time. I didn't have a table, but that was not a problem. So we had our instant anthology. We had all the poets come, and honestly, we didn't know if people would come. We thought, well, we'll invite them. It's a party. We'll just see what happens. And everyone came. I mean, a lot of people came, and we were just so happy. And I think for me, I was so happy to have my house where I loved my house, but I've been so unhappy. And to have all of the poets come and just bless the house, it felt so fantastic. And everyone was so happy to come. And we wanted everyone to come, write work that they'd never, it had to be new. And no one could have heard it, or at least no one could have heard it. And then we would do a go round. So everyone would have to guess who'd written it. So we would put all of the poems in a box. And then afterwards we said, well, because it's the solstice, that we would put all the poems into a fire so the Dionysian gods could pick it all up, right? So all of it has always started as an impromptu, fun event that just spoke to our hearts. We can go to the next one. So there were so many good ideas and so many fun things that we wanted to take part of. So Kelly knew a person at Rockstar Gallery who had a radio thing as well. And they invited us to come. So she gathered up a lot of poets, because at that time we didn't have an idea, a concept of what hot poet was. It was just that we wanted to still feel like poets who were hot. And it was hot outside. So we had Rockstar Gallery. We had, as part of 100,000 Poets for Change, you can see on the picture where we combined ecstatic dance and yoga, because I had also just gotten my yoga certification at that time, because we have many ideas. We had hot poets and all that jazz. And that was actually the very first event. It was a fundraiser for public poetry. And we had it at Costa's. Kelly at that time, and still does, had an in with a lot of jazz folks. She seems to know lots of people in the music world. And so we had jazz folks who came and who played, and we had poets who read their poetry. It was meant to be a jazz and beat style poetry. And then we also have had multiple events over at Rehab, because they have a big lawn, a big space. So we were doing lots of events. And that was before we developed kind of, and who knows, it's still evolving, because we are still evolving. So a lot, often, it's just like when we go to the, well, I was just gonna say, it's like when we go ahead. It's just like when we go to the cafeteria, right? Everything looks good and it sounds good, and we love the poets and we love ideas and we love events, but often we take on a whole lot and then we have to like, so, okay, I'm done there.
Okay, I wanted to say a little something about hot poets and all that jazz. That was where we really started being called hot poets. Because when we first started, yeah, we wanted to think we were hot, but we also felt like anybody who wrote with passion about things they were passionate about could be a hot poet. So we called it Hot Poets and all that jazz, and the name kind of stuck. So you know, I just wanted to say that. And it was a really fun event. It was like wall to wall people. We featured four poets, but we had an open mic, and you had to buy a raffle ticket to be part of the open mic. And that's when we realized that people will pay to read poetry. So we raised $1,000 for public poetry that night, and we were pretty proud of that event. Okay, back to you, Tina. I think we should go to the next, talk about this, Tina, if you want to, how the solstice gatherings happened.
Oops, I'm talking and I'm muted. Sorry about that. So we began to gather because it was a Dionysian event, I suppose. We would gather in the winter and in the summer, always on the solstice, always with the fire. So everything began to coalesce with the fire and the reading, and we would, a lot of fun. So the theme was always heat in any way that one wanted to imagine that. So passion was always a part of it. And that was indeed how we had started, because we wanted a venue for people to write erotica, but people didn't want to write. Maybe they wanted to, but they had a hard time with writing erotica. So we ended up saying, okay, because people brought all kinds of poems, but not really erotica. So that's when we kind of switched over to passion, politics, weather, food, and the environment. And we didn't necessarily start with the environment, but as we got going, it was really important to us to talk about things that mattered. Like, we just couldn't ignore them. We couldn't have a party and ignore everything that's happening around us. But we also wanted, in spite of everything that was happening around us, and especially at the solstice in the winter, is we wanted to be that light, right? That pagan idea that we're going to hold the flame alive for the word and for poets and for artists. So that's where the emphasis for passion, for joy, for awareness, for all of us just being able to come into a place and feel accepted. Kelly, is there anything there that you wanted?
Oh, well, I had a little funny story. Our first party, we said we were going to write a passionate poetry, and then we changed our minds, right? But right after that first party, I went to a critique group with people I didn't know very well, and someone asked, did anybody go to that poetry orgy thing? So I thought it was pretty funny that, you know, we had thrown a poetry orgy thing and we didn't even know it. So we've been going on for a few years, starting in 2013, and in 2020, we all know what happened. Everything shut down, but another sad thing happened for our friend group, and that was we lost a good friend who was very supportive of Hot Poet. He always did. It was Glenn Monroe Irby, and some of you might have known Glenn. He helped a lot of people get started with chapbooks and books. I think he helped me to organize my chapbooks, and Elena Petrova, her book as well. And he was just a kind and generous person, and he was a good friend of mine and Tina's. So when Glenn passed away in 2020, we were very sad, and it was also at the beginning of the pandemic, and there was not really the proper way to have a ritual. You know, we had like a little gathering on the lawn of the Menil, but we wanted to honor him. And so several of his friends stepped up and said that they had different PDFs that Glenn had given them over the years. And so I put my heads together with these friends, and we formed a committee, and we published a book. And so our goal was to publish the book. And at the same time, I was also helping with 4 other friends to take care of Glenn's estate. And the executor of the estate, Glenn had set aside funds for poetry poetry organizations, and they asked me to help delegate the funds. So we gave some of the money to different organizations like Metabolist Press and different Poetry Society of Texas and things like that. So anyway, at the time that we were thinking about doing this collection, I asked the executor if Tina and I could have some money for a hot poet, and because we wanted to publish this collection. And so they gave us some money. So we had some seed money to start our nonprofit. And we also got permission from the heirs of the estate to have his intellectual property and to publish it. We had a committee already formed by the people who had stepped up. So we made it a formal committee with 4 people. And then we published our first collection. And so far, it's the only print collection we've published. And it was called Letters Sent Inland, which was a line from Glenn's poem. And so there were a lot of pieces to setting up the nonprofit. But we knew that we needed a mission, and we worked together on the wording of that. We wanted to write passionately about things that we were passionate about and support the community, build community, and support the work of artists and writers. We needed at least 3 board members. And so there was Tina and me. And then we had Glenn's friend who had done accounting for nonprofits for years, stepped up and offered to be the secretary treasurer, and he helped us with all of the paperwork. So paperwork is a little bit of a blank to me. It was a lot of work and it went pretty fast. We had to write bylaws. We approved the bylaws. We had to apply for our nonprofit status. We got a number that said we were a nonprofit, but we didn't get our certificate for a long time after, several months later. We set up a bank account once we had the number and the letter saying that we had been approved. We could set up a nonprofit bank account. And then my daughter, Dominic, helped us build the website. And I'm going to, I'll put the website in the chat. But anyway, basically it's hotpoet.org. So our first project was the Wildwood Project. That was the one when we published Glenn's book. It was a posthumous collection with a committee, and we had some challenges because Glenn had passed away. So we had to try to stay true to his work and his intentions, but also we wanted to curate a collection of his best work. So our concept was to do that, and the members of the committee offered different strengths. We had one regular meeting facilitator, and that was Chuck Wemple. And he's very even-tempered, and he helped us stay on track. He, set up every meeting and called it to order. The graphic designer and editor, that was, it turned out to be Daniel Carrington, and he is an engineer, and he's very meticulous, and he probably put in the most work of anyone. And so we put him as the editor-in-chief. I'm the concept person and the people person. So I came up with the concept of, organizing the poems in a way that they went from the coast to the inland, to family and memory, to spirit and heart, so it was Letters Sent Inland. And the experienced publisher was Dustin Pickering, who knew how to do ISBNs and copyrights and things like that. And so we had some challenges, we're all different personalities. We had to negotiate what had to be exactly the same and what needed to be fixed, like if there were obvious, typos and things like that. And I had to learn the publishing part, but overall we thought it was a beautiful book. And also I had to get the blurbs from different writers, and we solicited people to write. John Gorman wrote the introduction, and another person wrote a preface. So it was a team effort, and it was from people who love Glenn, and it was a labor of love. And then Tina and I threw the book release party, and it was the first time we'd come out after COVID. We did it outdoors, and so people could distance to their comfort level, and so it was really a celebration. Okay, so after that, I didn't know what to do next. But my daughter Madeline and I started talking about maybe doing an online journal, because print has its own set of challenges. You know, we're mailing out books right and left, and we still have some stock if anyone wants to order one, you know, go to our website. So I thought that it would be a good idea to try to do an online journal. And the solstice parties were supposed to be like, you know, spontaneous and passionate, but we thought that we wanted a more calm, curated collection, because, you know, the equinox is a symbol for balance and for change. So we wanted to maybe have a little more serious approach, and we also wanted to include some short prose and some images. So we made it multi-genre. It's thematic. We've had 2 themes so far. We've only had 2 issues. The first one was a change in the weather, and the second one was in our backyard. And we made it a contest. So we give 3 $100 prizes, and so I think it turned out pretty well. And there are a few people here who are in one of our issues or both of our issues. I think Sandy's in there, Margot's in it. And I actually pulled up Gabrielle's poem to show you in one of the issues when I switched screens. So I didn't know how to do a journal, but I knew I needed to join Submittable. So we joined CLMP, which is a Society of Literary Presses, and that gave us a discount to Submittable, and we set up a call for submissions. And Vanessa Zimmer-Powell helped me a lot with this process as well. So all along, people have helped with different things. And my daughter Madeline agreed to be the editor-in-chief, and she's a very talented writer, and it had to be blind selection, and I know too many people and could recognize their work, you know, for it to be me. And then this was all during really busy times. So I put Madeline in charge of most of it, and then in the final, you know, communicating with people and things like that, I stepped in. And Tina through our first release event at Fitzcarraldo's, which was a lot of fun. So some of the challenges, one was the workload, because it was a lot of work. And looking back, I think we didn't pace ourselves correctly, because and having a journal called Equinox, you have a pretty hard deadline there. So it was going to come out on September 21st, no matter what. And the selection decisions were hard because, you know, there were poems we really loved, but they didn't fit with the collection, or they weren't exactly on top, in sync with the theme. And that was maybe the hardest part, was when I looked to see who we hadn't picked, and friends of mine were in that group. And I realized just this week I submitted to something and I didn't get picked, and it was so painful, you know. So I think it's really good for me to see both sides of it, you know, that sometimes I get rejected and sometimes I'm the one saying no to people, and that's that was a challenge. Learning curve with technology, you know, I still don't totally understand everything I'm doing, and the website is difficult for me. Promotion, Tina's a lot better at social media than I am, but I'm really mystified sometimes. And I'm going to jump ahead to fear. There's the fear of putting yourself out there and saying, look what I can do, because you start feeling a little bit like, who do I think I am? How can I do this? So I have to, we have to tell ourselves that we're offering something valuable, and that what we're doing is a good thing, and just push through the fear and keep going. The money management was difficult because in my head, when we started an online journal, there would be a lower overhead, but actually joining CLMP and joining Submittable and offering 3 $100 prizes, we've actually come up short every single time, and so my joke is we put the non in nonprofit. So we need to kind of work on that end of it and figure out how to write grants and things like that. And I can't see everything here. What else did I say was a challenge? Let me move this over. Keeping up with our own creative goals, because when you stay really busy, and Sandy and I have talked about this, when you're running the nonprofit, it's hard to keep up with your own writing. And so that was a challenge. Okay, so Tina's going to talk about the things we've gained from it. And that's a picture of our last cover. And our next cover is actually a collection of the instant anthologies that we've published over the years, and we're pulling from that to curate a collection for the fall issue of Equinox, and I hope everybody will check it out. So Tina, you want to talk about?
Sure. On that issue, in our backyard, that refers to the environmental thing of not in my backyard. So we really wanted to bring awareness still, because it is the equinox and we still are thinking about the environment, the climate. And so that was the reason why it was called it is in our backyard. So the rewards have been just being able to hear people's words, offering an opportunity and opening it up. And there were so many people that we didn't know, that we weren't familiar, from all over the country, who sent in their work. And that was fantastic, because we were so surprised, and the work was incredible. But always we're expanding our networks. And honestly, it's friends and friends of friends and friends of those people. So it just continues to expand. It's very informal. Definitely, in spite of money being a challenge, because still, even, and definitely in the beginning, up until we had a little bit of money, we paid for everything out of our pockets. So it did get expensive, but it was also wonderful. I think to gain experience and confidence, Kelly has now gone to a few conferences and learned from all of that in terms of meeting with other people, just having this awareness and really wanting to bring more people in, because that's been very important as well. The collection was a beautiful collection. So Kelly and I, if we're not into one thing, we're into another, both of us at the same time, or each of us. So we were actually in performance, a Becky Ray performance. It was a lot of fun. But we were there upstairs for the rehearsal when the journal first came out. So Kelly, during the rehearsal, kept saying, look, it's out, the journal is out. And it really was beautiful. So each one has been fantastic. It's always stressful, especially when it comes time to produce and make sure it's done and everything is done right. It's really important, but also just being able to enjoy all of it. And we do, because here we are, almost 10, no, it is 10, right? I think almost 10 years. And we're still at it.
I wanted to add a little bit about our themes. So far we've had a change in the weather, and a change in the weather. We try to have open-ended themes. So it could be a relationship, or it could be political, or it could be climate change, right? So whenever we throw a theme out there, we want people to take it where their hearts and minds want to go with their own poetry. And in our backyard, it was funny. Tina was thinking about climate change. I was thinking about issues along the border, and things that, how we have imaginary borders and fences, and these are man-made constructs, and really we're all sharing the planet. People wrote those kind of poems. People also wrote about their cats killing birds in the backyard. We got a lot of cat killing birds poems. So anyway, our next theme will be, we are calling it, Is It Hot Enough for You? Because that was our first concept, was we were going to put an anthology together called Is It Hot Enough for You? So we're going back to that conversation we had at Leon's back in the day. So our goals, Tina, you want to talk about that a little bit?
So we've always wanted to include as many people as possible. We continue to try to do that. To learn how to fundraise, we're still working on that one. We want to be able to offer more of the workshops, more of the classes, and really keep it an experiential thing, because for me, integrating with the words with the body and make it healing as well is really important. And I think it's valuable. We want artists to be as healthy inside and out as they possibly can. We always have music and art and visual arts as well, which is just fantastic to be able to come in, which we've done, and so people see the paintings and then they can hear the music. It's really wonderful. We have the anthologies, social awareness with the arts. It doesn't have to be, the poem does, is what it is, but that is part of it, is that we want to show that we are aware and we're part of this. We continue to grow. One day we'll begin a poetry book club. I didn't know we were going to do that until now.
Yeah, that's Jenny's brainchild.
And just continue to enjoy and learn from the process.
I did want to show you one poem from one of our journals, if I can pull it up. And this one, well, maybe I don't know. Oh yeah, here it is. This was just a little bit, just to give you a little peek of okay, so I don't know how to make this big. Here it is. This was Gabrielle's poem. And Madeline did such a good job of, integrating image with words, and I just love this poem. And actually Madeline had chosen a different poem from Gabrielle, and I saw what was in the mix, and I said, can we do this one instead? And so anyway, I think it's a lovely image, and it sort of exemplifies our aesthetics, that we try to integrate the image with the words and make it an experience. And Madeline's stepping down as our graphic designer, so I might be looking for someone soon, since I'm not that person. But so if anyone is interested in participating, I'm just throwing that out there. Anyway, I guess that's all that we have to say about our endeavors, but we wanted to open the floor for questions if you have any.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would you talk a little bit about how you reward your judges for your journals? I know you don't actually pay them cash, but what are some of the ways that you reward them for being a judge?
Well, first we ask people that that have been supportive in the past in various ways. So we don't usually go and just flag someone down, you know. We have a creator's corner and a judge's corner, and so they get a page of their own, and they can put their work there and also advertise anything they're doing. So I think in our first issue, I'm going blank. I can talk more about the last issue. The last issue, I had Justin Janice as one of the judge for poetry, and I'd taken a bunch of classes from Justin, so I felt like I could approach him because he knew my work and our efforts, and he would kindly agreed. And so he had a new book out, so I said, we want a poem from you, and you can advertise your classes and your and you know, put in a plug for your book, and he did that. And then Craig Butterworth was our art judge, and he has recently been making a living as an artist, so he did the same thing. He had a website, and so we try to make it worthwhile for the judges, and also we don't give them every single thing that came in. We sort of winnow it, you know, narrow it down to about 15 pieces for poetry and fewer for prose, because we don't get as much prose and image. But we narrow it down to what we think are the strongest pieces and let the judge go from there. So they're not looking at everything. Anyway, so we try to make it worthwhile for them to promote their own projects and things like that, because it is a lot to ask. We would like to pay our judges, but like I said, we always seem to come up a little short. So, and actually with giving the prizes, I didn't realize that I was getting overextended when I said $100 prizes in each category. I envisioned like 500 entries, you know, but really we've had under 100 entries each time. It's growing. I mean, the first time it was like 70 and then it was 80 something. So we're getting more entries as we keep showing up. But if we get bigger and we have more access to funds, we will start trying to pay the judges. Tina, you want to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say that Michael Galco, he was the first editor. He's highly published. He's been writing for a very long time. He's well known in the writing community, but he's my partner. He's my significant other. So he said he would do it.
Well, I mean, I think there's all kind of ways to reward someone who judges. So, and I think probably for some people, if they have something to market or promote, you know, it could be more important than actually, you know, having cash. But does anyone else have questions? I mean, you all covered, I feel like I've been on a journey with you all. I mean, I
just kept talking, so sorry about that.
No, it's so well organized, and yeah, I think it's a fascinating story.
Oh, Gabrielle said she had a question.
Yeah. Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, amazing presentation. You are both such hot poets. I wanted to address the thing about paying for judging or editing an anthology. I have had the opportunity to be both a judge and an editor for 3 different anthologies. And I will tell you that it's a lot of work. Yes, that's true, but it's such an honor. And it's something that I think a lot of us will do pro bono. And I was just so, and I've been published a lot. I have a book out. I have another book getting ready to come out. But it's just something that you feel so proud to have your name associated with. So I just want to throw that out. Would it be great to be paid? I mean, it's that would be nice, but it's such a, it's it's such an ego boost to have your name associated with such an amazing collection. So please don't ignore that as a selling point.
Well, you know, I thank you, Gabrielle, for saying that. And I do want to clarify that we selected, well, I let Madeline select everything on the first issue. And then, and she didn't, because for the reasons I said, and she was stepping up and she wanted to do the whole thing from beginning to end. And I mean, I helped with various things, but the judging had to do with the prizes. So we haven't called selecting the poems judging, but I mean, I've heard it called that. When I think it is really a great experience to be on a selection committee or anything like that, because as writers, we always put ourselves out there and we're vulnerable and we send our work out. And so I think that one of the things that we did well was we were really sensitive when we wrote even rejection letters. One person whose work we liked, we usually give them a reason, you know, and one person whose work we liked wrote us back and said, that is the sweetest rejection letter I've ever had. And so anyway, I think just seeing both sides of it helps me personally, you know, because we all encounter a lot of rejection. And so it helps me to see that sometimes it's just the mix, you know, sometimes what you sent doesn't work with the rest of the collection, and that's just how it goes. But thank you, Gabrielle, for saying that. Tina, you have something?
Thank you, Gabrielle. I appreciate it.
Carolyn.
Yeah, I think that another thing that's really valuable about judging is that when I was judging for the Mutabalist Press and some other things, is that I really learned a lot about poetry and how a juror will jury yours. For instance, being unsubmittable, you know, I started out jurying with paper, and there was a method that I used to, you know, the absolute yeses, the medium, the no's, whatever. But on submittable, it's kind of a different process because the poems will come up and unless you have days and days to go through this, you know, you often will make a decision on what might be the best poem there, or you might tag it to go back to it. So it's a very different process also online, so that by doing it yourself, I think you learned a lot. And also you could tell sort of immediately, oh no, you know, they've got this section in the beginning when they should just get into the poem. So I learned a lot too about my own work. But there's also one thing I want to say to Tina and Kelly is that I recommend that all of you go online and look at some of these online journals that they're producing, because they are luscious from the viewpoint of also just the poems, but the way that they're designed. I mean, you guys are doing, it's just beautiful. I mean, I just was going, oh, that's so pretty. This is so nice. You know, I almost forgot to read some of the poems because it was so beautifully created. And then I went back and I read, you know, the poems more, but check them out because they're really wonderful what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's really humbling to see, you know, how much is out there and how, you know, gorgeous some of the journals are. I went to AWP this year, and I went in with a little sign and a table, and I felt like such small potatoes, but I thought at least I brought it, at least I'm there, you know. But yeah,
But Rona has her hand
Yeah.
up.
Yes, and I think Donna does too. So
Yeah.
art, what you would call selecting would be the curating.
yeah, I
And
guess
then,
so.
so if you want to give it a title, that's curating. And then the juror does the actual judging for the prizes. So it's like, could be the same person sometimes, and sometimes it's not. But, you know, since you say using a committee. So I haven't looked at it. So is the art, the graphic design, is that what's happening? Or are you adding?
Well, Madeline took care of that, and So she selected from images that were sent to us, but
Oh,
she also augmented with free things from the internet, you know, just to make it more aesthetically engaging. So, and she chose colors and borders and things like that. So some of it is original work and some of it was, you know, the kind of images that you can get from the internet.
I just was curious since this is a joint group, you know, and I thought I saw a request for images somewhere or something.
We ask, well, in the call for submissions, we ask for short prose, images, and poetry.
That must be.
And so
yeah.
we have been trying to do a multi-genre, you know, journal. But this next issue is a little different from the first two because we're pulling from the instant anthologies that we collected over the years. All we had was a big stack of poetry, and we wanted to do something with that. So this issue is sort of an invitation only issue, just because we sent an all call to anyone who's ever gone to one of the hot poet parties and said, if you brought something and submitted it to that instant anthology, please submit it again so we can, you know, comb through what we have and put together another curated collection. And some of it was just not wanting to join Submittable again this year because we want to rally a little bit and think about our money.
Yeah, you have
And
to.
some of it was just that we've wanted to do this for a long time, and this is our opportunity to. And so Tina and I met Sunday and we went through every single journal and we indexed everything we've gotten. We're still missing 1 year, 2014. We can't find it. So if anyone has it, please loan it to us. And we were amazed at how much good poetry was in these just little spontaneous anthologies we'd put together twice a year, you know. So it was really gratifying.
And I have a question, Gladys Bullock. Hello, Tina. I saw you last week after the training in Pasadena. Once y'all get the anthologies printed up, where are they sold, or are they sold? What do you do with them once you get it all bounded and to the print? Where do you market them? Let me say that.
Well, we haven't done a formal anthology of hot poet work yet.
Okay.
But we just have everybody bring 30 copies and we collate it right there. And we always have a cover that's a creative cover. And so everybody leaves with
a copy.
With a copy, with a collection of work. And
it's an instant anthology.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty informal, but this time we're trying to formalize it and pull the best of the best and make it more of a, you know, a collection. And also we hope to do this one in print by next winter.
Oh, nice.
We might not have all the pictures, but we're going to try to do a print anthology for by the next solstice.
So you just kind of having a place where poets can have a voice of getting that work out and getting it. You know, sometimes it's the most difficult thing is when you, as a poet, I'm a poet as well. All right, I've been speaking for a long time on the speaking circuit for about 20 years. Is that getting your work out there? I mean, no, not just like it to market, but just even having enough confidence and courage to say, okay, I think this is worthy to be read, or I think this is worthy to be heard. And so to have a place, I think, as you're saying, hot poets, I think that is that you're kind of giving a venue or a space for poets to be able to do that. Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
Mhm.
Okay, that's it.
That's what we wanted to do.
So Donna has been patiently raising her hand. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just want to say that I've been amazed at what you've done. And I've told Kelly this before because I trip over her more easily. But I think it's a cool thing you've done. And I think what you're doing is facilitating culture in your backyard in a way. And
That's
I
good, that's
think
it.
that's very admirable.
Yeah,
And I think we need that. Thank you.
that's right. A
Fran, you had
gathering place for poets. That's
Fran,
great.
you have a comment, question? Oh, you're muted, Fran.
There we go. I just wanted to mention that if you do want to have national distribution, one of the easiest ways to do that is through Ingram Spark. And you can produce absolutely gorgeous books with that. I mean, I've seen people do art books with it that are quite amazing. So they give you your stuff automatically goes to Amazon, you know, and you can also, I mean, there are a lot of things you can do with that to promote. So it's ingramspark.com, and they're not expensive. They're probably the least expensive place I know for actually printing. So,
I do keep hearing about Ingram Spark.
and they're relatively easy to work with. I got stuck working with them one time, and what I found is that if I can't do it, you can hire someone at Upwork, and you tell them what you want, you give them a budget, and they're fabulous. So that's another site to go to if you want to navigate your way through this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a lot to navigate.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And I'd be happy to help out anytime you want. So,
Well, I've called
let
you
me
a
know.
couple of times to pick your brain, so I'll probably do it again too.
Sure.
Well, I've loved hearing about your journey and especially your challenges. And, you know, starting a nonprofit is very much like starting a small business, and you've got to wear all the hats, and you just don't know what you can do until you find out that you have to do it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it's been a lot of work, but isn't it amazing what you can do?
Well, I think people are hungry for, you know, a venue and for a place for their work, and I think it's pretty gratifying. And I read this, you know, how people post quotes, but this one sort of spoke to me. It was like, one of the ways to get what you want, the way to get what you want from life is to help others get what they want. And I thought that's kind of true and pretty cool, because, you know, after starting this, my book did get picked up. So I felt like maybe the two things aren't related, but I felt some good things coming back to me too. So.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. And you'll be WiVLA now for a whole year.
No, that's
so,
really exciting.
yeah, that'll be great.
Thank you.
Are we WiVLonians? I'm not really sure, but yes, you'll be WiVLA members for a year. So welcome.
We're not WiVLanites, are we?
I don't know. We need to come up with a term that we all agree on. So yes, thank you very much. I am going to do y'all a favor and remove your spotlights.
Okay, thanks.
But with a few minutes we have left, okay. Tina.
Bye, thank you.
Wait, don't go away yet, Tina.
Oh.
You're moving around, and I'm having a hard time finding you. Where'd she go, Kelly?
I'm still here.
I know you're still here, and I can't. Whoops. I'm sorry. So anyway, while I'm struggling with Zoom, do y'all have any announcements of things that you've got going? There we go. In the next few months or next month? Yes, Miss Perkins, and you're on mute.
Margot and I will be having this 25th anniversary party of the Archway Readers this Thursday. It's been 25 years.
A whole bunch of WiVLA members will be reading there.
Good. And I haven't really done much of this, but Margot has put together an anthology, which is just online at this point. I'm going to try to get one copy of it printed out tomorrow so that the people can sign their pages so that there's one copy with all those signatures.
Excellent.
At
And I
6 o'clock we gather, 6:30 the readings begin, and everybody's audience is welcome. We've got a very long list of readers already.
That's what I heard. And Margot's going to be in charge of keeping everyone in line from what I've heard.
That's right. I'm getting my whip tomorrow from Party City. So
Didn't know it was going to be that kind of a
kind of a reading.
And she knows how to use it.
Well, there's just so many, 5 minutes is 5 minutes and 5 minutes is a lot.
It is. It doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about it, but it is quite a nice period of time. Anyone else have something going?
I'm not personally, but since you mentioned going to the quilt show, the one of the artists there's three art shows up at the Blaffer right now, and the one of the artists upstairs is a female artist, Maria Guzman Capron, and the pieces are all fabric. She was a U of H art student and started by gluing fabrics on making paintings, and now they're all sewn, quilted. Some of them are more three-dimensional. We don't have any of her three-dimensional pieces, but it's a neat show. So if you're interested in fiber art, they're open Tuesday through Sunday.
At the Blaffer, okay.
Yeah,
Great.
upstairs.
Okay. Anyone else have any announcements?
Well, we will have an equinox release event in September, but we haven't nailed down the date, probably the 24th or 25th.
Okay.
So since I guess I'll be a member of WiVLA, I'll let everyone in the group know, and also, use our other media means to let people know.
And I encourage all of our members to, and you will get an invite to join the group, but we have a member Facebook group where an awful lot of information is shared about our accomplishments. Gabrielle, I really want to see some of your book information out there. I'm just thinking, I don't recall seeing it. So please, 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 if you have not received an invitation to join the group, reach out to me. No, I'll invite you myself. But that's a great place to share information, as well as you can add events to the calendar. So if you're a member of WiVLA, we have a way of letting members add their own events. Speaking of which, I've got one coming up. I belong to a group called Pixels and Silver. So does Donna. And we are having a outdoor exhibition that will be at, oh my gosh, I should remember, the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church on the corner of Heights and 19th. It'll be up for a few months. Our reception will be the 10th. I think it's 1:30 to 3-ish at the church. And you're on mute, Don. I don't know if you're talking, but anyway, we will have, I will have information on Facebook as well as our calendar. But it's great. It's outdoors. You can see it when you're walking by or driving by, walking your dog. Okay. And Margot.
Yeah, and there will be a reading at the Friendswood Public Library on Sunday, the 24th, for the their ekphrastic publication. And I have a couple of poems in there in response to 2 of Donna's works.
Okay.
I have a poem in there too. That's exciting.
I think Sandy probably does too.
I do too.
The Friendswood Library is also having a new panel for writers, and it'll be on the Saturday. I think it's the 20th. I believe it's at 2 o'clock, and they're going to do nonfiction time, and I think they're going to do 3 next year, and I think my book will be in there for. I mean, this one's fiction, but my book will be in there for nonfiction in January for the.
Great.
Oh, and and one more thing, this Sunday, I just saw this pop up on Facebook. Lorette from the Ekphrastic Review, she is giving a workshop online from 1 to 3 on Sunday. And her Sunday writing workshops are so great. They're just, she picks out pieces of artwork. There's not a particular theme. And she talks about the history of each of the pieces of artwork. And then you have time to write. And it's a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. So if you go to Ekphrastic Review, they have a listing of all of her workshops.
And she's a member.
Yay.
Tell her to put something on the member page.
I'm sorry, Margot, could you repeat? How would I locate that online?
Go to the Ekphrastic Review. She also has a Facebook. Are you on Facebook? She has a Facebook page, and she's a member. I put it on our Facebook page. I posted it today.
I thought I'd seen it. Okay. I sometimes get lost on what you're posting on where. I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Yes, she's awesome. Okay, anything else? This has been a fun evening, y'all. And so much going on with our members. I'm really impressed. Like I said, you can share that information on our member page, our member group page. You can send that information to our wonderful newsletter editor, Sabina, at newsletter@wivla.org. We want to know what you're doing. We want to see what you're doing. We want to go there. So yes, Gladys May.
I'm sorry. I do. Hi. I do have I'm invited to write a poem and to read my poetry at an opening ceremony, a breaking open ceremony at Bay Area Park on October the 29th. So I've written an original piece and we'll be reading at that time. And so I probably of course, I won't read the whole time, but I'll probably do my actual reading of this poem about noon on October the 29th. So I'm excited about that. So
share it online.
Okay.
All right. Thank you again, ladies. It's been a fabulous evening.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tina and Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It was just very interesting.
Yeah.
Y'all have a great evening.
having
Look forward to seeing you next month, if not sooner. And Carolyn, did you have one more thing to say? You raised your hand. Okay. Oh, you're waving.
Oh, she's
okay.
waving.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
All
I love it.
All
So
right.
She's waving. Okay.
Y'all have a
Next
great
month.
week. Have a great month. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.